They say, if you treat her like a celebrity, she will treat you like one of her fans. The better a man treats a woman, the worse she treats a man in return. Something inside her subconscious calculates that he must be a low-value man if he feels compelled to treat her well, and he doesn't deserve her loyalty. Most men can attest from personal experience that treating a woman well eventually has disastrous consequences. Marriage as a concept. Throughout history, men have held the responsibility to protect, provide, and persevere. They were responsible for the protection of their tribe and family, their women and children, and their lands. They were responsible for providing for their families. This included food and water, clothes, and a roof over their heads. Throughout all of this, men were to persevere and fight off enemies, dangerous predatory animals, disease, and whatnot. Their women knew their role was to care for the children and maintain a comfortable home for their men to have a happy and comfortable life. We can see throughout history that whenever men and women have adhered to the roles prescribed to them by nature, they have lived good lives without disruption of peace, from infighting or problems with the opposite gender in marriage. When it comes to marriage, the changing roles of women and men have led to the changes that now exist in the concept of marriage. Previously, men and women married at a marriageable age when the woman was in her fertile prime and needed a man to start a family with. The man at that time was expected to provide for the woman, give her a home, and help her raise the children. Now, when the woman does not need a man to provide for her and does not want to have children in her fertile prime, she chooses to spend that time chasing the corporate dream that the woke feminists shoved toward her. She chose to climb the corporate ladder throughout her 20s and most of her 30s. And after the age of 35 and even up to 40, she suddenly realizes she has hit the wall. She realizes she probably cannot have babies, and that makes her frantic and desperate to find a man to settle down. On top of that, she realizes that all the men who flirted with her and wanted her over the last 10 years have moved on, are financially settled, and living happily married lives. So, she realizes that men would rather be with younger women who are fertile and not too busy chasing their corporate dreams. And that's when it hits through the roof, and she starts going on an anti-man narrative. But marriage is out of the question for men today. Why? Because it's just not worth it in every sense you can imagine. It's financially impossible for men. In 1939, during the peak of World War II and the Great Depression, the average wage was around $1,700 per year, and a new construction home was $3,900. If you lived frugally and saved $500 a year, you could have a 50% down payment on a new construction home in 4 years. In 2023, the new average wage is $59,000, and a new construction home is around $400,000. See the difference? You can save half of that for 4 years, and you'd barely be scratching the surface of a 20% down payment. It was literally more affordable to buy a home during the greatest economic crisis this country has had than now. It's too out in the open. One of the biggest problems with marriage and relationships today is that they have been made too public. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's good to appreciate your partner. However, appreciating them in the public eye makes people automatically think the relationship or marriage is perfect. Nobody ever shares their fights or arguments. Everyone wants to share the perfect story. And when the marriage or relationship shakes, it all of a sudden becomes a private matter. 80% of people who publicize their love life eventually end up being disappointed most of the time. Just look at what's happening with popular Hollywood celebrities and sports stars. There is something about mysteries that just makes things look special. Most private lifestyles are the most enjoyed because you have nothing to prove. The law is biased against men. Family law has really advanced to the point where it is very high risk, but a poor return for men, and low risk, but a great reward for women, particularly if they want to leave it. In fact, 80% of divorces are initially started by women. This was something stated by Jordan Peterson in a recent video I came across. And the surprising bit is that quite a bit of those divorces are pre-planned for financial reasons. We all understand that even half of the divorce is pretty much the end of it all. As a result, if you find yourself in a married situation, and it doesn't even have to be marriage, the state will recognize that as a common law marriage, even if you live together for a sufficient amount of time, like in many Western countries. Family law is intended to maximize women's hypergamous nature. They're always seeking upgrades to where they are at. I'm aware that some women may point out that their divorces didn't go that way and that they had to pay the man. Yes, that can also happen at times, especially when the case is too obvious for the whole world to see, when a woman is trying to basically take all of his resources, even when the guy had practically done nothing wrong to her, not cheated on her, not abused her, not given her love, care, and attention. So when this sort of case occurs, the judges sometimes rule in the guy's favor, although that's a one-off instance. However, because of the nature of the intimacy market and how men and women connect, guys frequently find themselves in situations where they meet attractive women who end up marrying them. Meaning that when they get married, the guys are a few points higher than them. On top of that, the entire legal system is designed to work against men and not consider their input in society, or the fact that women can use a jaded legal system to advance their own interests. Due to the serious legal ramifications of marriage in the present day, many men find it impossible to even consider getting married. The ones that do make the biggest mistake of not knowing about it. So the biggest mistake men make in marriage is not understanding how the system is rigged against them. Men now face very high risk and little reward from marriage as a result of how family law has developed and changed over time. That is one of the main problems men have with marriage, and the reason why more and more men are avoiding it. Women want the idea of marriage without the work. Women in general want to feel needed more than men do. That's a universal thing, and I don't think anything we say or do can change that. The only problem is, when it comes to marriage or being together, the woman expects everything on her terms, instead of working together as it should. People in this generation find reasons to quit rather than find reasons to stay and grow. The trust between men and women has never been this low in our lifetimes. We are all aware that with time, marriages typically lose their worth. Men have grown weary of women as more and more of them reveal their true natures and how they trick them into marriages so they may live off of their resources while they monkey branch from one male to the next. However, the primary cause of the rise in non-intimate marriages is that women no longer want to be women. There, I did say it. Based on falsehoods spread by the awakened feminist ideology, women seek to adopt the gender role of males and want to behave in a masculine way in order to seize authority. Marriage is becoming outdated. 50% of marriages end in divorce, 70% of them initiated by women. They get most of everything following the divorce, including the kids. Women get sole custody of the kids around 80% of the time, and the father loses almost all his rights to those children, except for the financial connection. Yet you blame men for refusing to play this rigged game? Trust me, it's all a gift for the parties involved, but all a loss for the man. She benefits, the divorce court benefits, lawyers benefit, but the man loses it all. What a weird world we live in. One day it will happen when man will just say no for good, and the damage will be permanent. The thing is, we don't have marriages anymore. Since the government became involved, they are civil unions, not marriages. A marriage is a religious institution that has nothing to do with the government. What we need is for the government to not be involved in marriages at all. Let people choose if they want a marriage, where you're married in your church by your pastor, and the government stays completely out of it, or a civil union. Eliminate state marriage certificates and call them what they truly are, a civil union certificate. Women are changing to become more manly. Males are changing to become more feminine. Feminism has progressed to the point where, in my opinion, it no longer achieves the gender equality it previously did, when, as you are aware, women wanted to vote, own cars, and have jobs. Now they own that. But in my perspective, any movement must either succeed in achieving its objective or terminate. And guys just cannot afford a marriage anymore. Not just financially, but also emotionally and physically. Women only want a marriage with benefits, where they get to have all the fun. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Support us and help us spread support for men around the world. Do comment and share your thoughts. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.